All right, let's talk about the La Sportiva G-Tech. I'm going to give you a quick list of the pros and cons of these boots after over a year of owning them. I've been out in Scottish winter climbing conditions. I've been out in the Alps wearing these. I think I've tested them quite thoroughly. My opinion is coming from a place of sufficient experience. So first things first, what do I like about these boots? I think number one is the weight. They are ridiculously light. They're like 640 gram a boot in my size, which is a 9. And that is crazy light. I mean, that's like about 400 grams lighter than the Nepal Extreme. And you can notice that on your feet, especially when you're walking off after a long day. That lightness of the boot really helps you out. Next thing I absolutely love is the BOA system. I am not going back to laces on mountaineering boots ever. Yeah, after using BOA now on 2 pairs of footwear, I just don't like using laces. BOA is nice and clean. It's dead easy to crank when you get to the base of a route. You're not going to go unzipping your boot or potentially taking your gloves off and faffing around with laces. And it's not caused me any problems so far. It works. I think it's pretty tried and tested now. So yeah, love the BOA. Next thing I love about these boots is the walkability. And I think that goes hand in hand with how light they are. But it's also about the heel and the kind of sole design has got that kind of rocker type design that comes from the Equilibrium range. This is the same Equilibrium last. So if Equilibrium boots fit you, these will fit you. And they're just nice to walk in for a fully rigid B3 boot. They're about as good as you're going to get to walk in. Next thing I love is these feel precise when you're placing your feet on smaller edges and stuff with your crampons. They just feel kind of nimble and precise, and I like that. So it might be a kind of a perception thing, but that's my perception. Next up is warmth. Now this is probably something that is quite debatable. I've been out on the north face of the Ben last winter in these in horrific weather, brutally cold with freezing wind chill, and I didn't notice a problem. I've also been out on these in nice bluebird days and obviously didn't have a problem then either. I wear a pair of Primaloft socks, Keeler Primaloft socks with these boots, and then a pair of thin socks underneath that. But I've not really noticed having cold feet, and that includes standing around on a belay, not potentially standing on a belay as long as good climbers, because I'm a pretty average punter. So if you were stood on a belay, like for somebody who's climbing a really hard pitch of Scottish grade 7 or something, and you're there for 2 hours, you might get cold. And it might depend on if you suffer with cold feet in general. I think they are a lot warmer than you might think based on how much they've reduced the weight. But again, that's just my perception of use with them. If you're somebody who gets super cold feet, you might feel a different way. All right, so a couple of what I would say, not negatives, but things to be aware of. So first up is the durability on these boots. They are not as bomb-proof as like something like the Nepal Extreme, obviously. They are much more of a kind of stripped down boot really. And I have noticed I cramponed one of the Rans pretty early on, and I was pretty pissed off, to be honest. But you got to weigh up the pros and cons and think to yourself, for the money that you're paying for these boots, are you happy, if you like, with the fact that you might damage them more easily than you would if you're walking around in a pair of something like the Nepal Extremes? Because the Nepal Extreme is like a tank and this is like a race car. So it's going to get damaged easier, of course, but it's like trade-offs, What are you happy to walk around with an extra 400 gram on your foot with things that were more clunky and like horrible to walk in? Or would you rather, run the slight risk that you might damage these? To me, it's a price worth paying. I've had them for over a year now and they are not in any way worn out. I expect them to last me another 2 seasons at least. So that'd be 3 years of use. I would say I'm going to get out of them, possibly more. But you need to be aware of that. These are not as durable as something that's built like a tank and weighs 400 grams more. So something to be aware of. Final thing is the waterproofing. They are pretty good in terms of waterproofing, but I think it's like anything, when it's chucking it down all day, I'm not sure any kind of item, whether that be a jacket or bottoms, even like Gore-Tex Pro, if it's truly miserable, I think you're going to get wet, and these boots did get wet. But when I've been out in more reasonable climbing conditions, which is kind of, you know, I'm not in the habit of going out in like ridiculously brutal conditions just for the fun of it. Maybe some people out there are. I kind of, you know, go out in the mountains to have nice visibility and kind of enjoy the day, not just be completely obliterated by shit weather. So it doesn't concern me, is what I'm saying, because I'm not going to go out my way to be climbing in horrendous weather. Try and go out on days that are kind of nicer to go out and nicer to climb. So it's not something that bothers me, the fact that these are not fully waterproof. But then what is, you know? Personally, I don't think it's a concern, but if you want truly bulletproof, go climbing some wellies. I don't know what to tell you. So, in conclusion, I think these boots are absolutely excellent. The bad news is they appear to have gone up in price a hell of a lot since I got them when they very first came out. Yeah, I think I paid about 400 quid when they first came out, and they are 550 quid currently on Outside in the Peak District. So, inflation, what are you gonna do? So yeah, they're not cheap. I think personally, when I weigh it up, all I pretty much do is spend my money on climbing stuff and stuff related to going out climbing, anything to do with the outdoors. Pretty much don't buy anything else in my life. So to me, it's a price I can be happy and live with. Yeah, it's a personal decision, you know, so you might think 550 quid is just an extortionate amount of money, and you'd probably be right. But for me, to give me the benefits that it gives me to do the thing I love, I think it's money well spent. So anyways, that's the end of this video. Yeah, that's it. I never know how to end these videos, just need to end these videos. So yeah,